Have you ever seen someone get humiliated in front of a crowd, while everyone just stood there, too afraid to say anything? That's exactly what happened to Sandra Bullock on set. She was just doing her job, giving it her all, when the director suddenly snapped. It wasn't just criticism, it was personal. Harsh words, public embarrassment, and a level of disrespect no professional should have to deal with. The worst part, nobody stepped in. Nobody except Keanu Reeves. He watched it all unfold, and when he couldn't take it anymore, he did something that no one saw coming. The film set was busy, cameras rolling, crew members rushing around, trying to keep things on schedule. It was either Speed or The Lake House, one of those movies where Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves shared the screen. Sandra, as always, was completely focused. She wasn't the type to show up late, demand special treatment, or throw a fit over minor things. She was a true professional, loved by almost everyone she worked with. But for some reason, the director that day wasn't having it. Maybe he was stressed, maybe he just had a bad attitude, or maybe he thought Sandra wasn't delivering the scene the way he wanted. Whatever the reason, he didn't just give her direction. He tore her down, right there in front of everyone. Most people would have stayed quiet, afraid to challenge someone in charge. But Keanu, he wasn't like most people. The scene was supposed to be simple, a few lines, a bit of movement, nothing too complicated. But for some reason, the director wasn't satisfied. His voice cut through the set, sharp and impatient. Again, he snapped. Sandra nodded, took a breath, and went for another take. Still not good enough. Again. Then again. And again. The frustration in his tone started turning into something worse. He wasn't just pushing for a better performance. He was making a point. His comments got harsher, his tone louder. "Are you even trying?" he scoffed. A few crew members glanced at each other, but said nothing. Sandra kept her cool, gave a small, polite smile, and reset for another take. But there was a shift in her eyes, like she knew this wasn't about the scene anymore. The set felt heavier, like everyone was waiting for something to break the tension. And then, Keanu stepped forward. He had been watching the whole time, arms crossed, face unreadable. But now, something had changed. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was about to do something no one expected. Keanu had been patient. He had watched, hoping the director would realize he was crossing a line. But it just kept going. The harsh words, the dismissive tone, the way Sandra was being treated like she didn't belong there, like she wasn't one of the most talented actresses in Hollywood. And that's when Keanu had enough. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. The air on set shifted. The quiet, easygoing guy everyone knew wasn't so quiet anymore. He walked straight up to the director, his voice calm but firm. "You don't talk to her like that." Simple, direct, but there was something in his tone that made the entire set freeze. The director looked stunned. No one ever challenged him, especially not someone as big as Keanu Reeves. For a moment, nobody moved. Crew members exchanged glances, unsure of what would happen next. But Keanu wasn't backing down. "If you have a problem with the scene, say it. But don't disrespect her." His voice wasn't raised, but it didn't need to be. It carried weight. It demanded respect. The director could have fought back, could have tried to brush it off. But something about the way Keanu stood there, completely unfazed, made it clear he wasn't bluffing. He wasn't just defending Sandra. He was setting a boundary. Either the treatment changed, or things were about to get very complicated. And in that moment, everyone knew. Keanu wasn't going to let this slide. For a few long seconds, no one said a word. The director, caught off guard, looked around as if expecting someone to step in. But no one did. The crew, the actors, everyone was watching Keanu. And Keanu wasn't moving. He wasn't backing down. Maybe the director realized he had pushed too far. Maybe he saw the way the crew had shifted, the way they weren't on his side anymore. Whatever it was, something changed. His tone softened. He muttered something, maybe not a full apology, but enough to acknowledge he had crossed a line. And just like that, filming continued. But the energy on set was different. The tension had lifted, and Sandra? She threw Keanu a small, knowing smile. She wasn't surprised. This was just the kind of person he was. Years later, in interviews, she would talk about how much she respected Keanu, how he always looked out for the people around him. Their chemistry on screen? That wasn't acting. That was real. And in that moment, on that set, everyone saw it firsthand that in Hollywood, where egos clash and power often goes unchecked, Keanu Reeves stands out. Not just as an actor, but as a person. He didn't have to say anything that day. He could have stayed quiet, like everyone else. But he didn't. He spoke up, and that made all the difference. This wasn't the first time Keanu proved he had his co-stars' backs, and it definitely wouldn't be the last. In a world where kindness and integrity can feel rare, he reminds us that standing up for what's right is always worth it. And honestly, we need more people like Keanu Reeves to keep the audience hooked. The story needs to feel like a movie itself, fast-paced, full of emotion, and impossible to look away from. Instead of dumping all the details at once, build up the tension. Let the viewers feel the discomfort on set, the silence of the crew, the weight of the moment before Keanu steps in. Keep teasing what happens next so they stay invested. Sentences should be short and punchy. No long-winded explanations. Every line should pull them in, make them curious, or hit an emotional note. And questions. They're powerful. Can you imagine standing up to a big Hollywood director? What would you do if you saw someone being humiliated like that? These make the audience think and connect with the story. And finally, the ending should leave an impact. Not just Keanu did something nice, but why it matters. It's about standing up for others. It's about not staying silent. And most of all, it's about showing that true kindness still exists, even in Hollywood.